So this right here is probably going to be my favorite Android watch of 2023. I could be wrong, and it's very early to tell, but this is the Galaxy Watch 6 Classic. And I had a couple hours of hands-on time prior to launch, so in this video, I want to share with you what's new, why I think it's probably going to be the best smartwatch of the year for Android users, and anything else I think you need to know as a first impressions video. So this is a smartwatch that I've been really hoping Samsung would bring back, and sure enough, they did right here, and there's one main reason for that, because last year we had the Galaxy Watch 5 and the Watch 5 Pro, which were nice watches, but you didn't have the physical rotating bezel, which some people are fine with the digital bezel, but for me, having that nice aesthetic, first of all, to cover the black ring on the outside, but second of all, to give you like that nice tactile feel of navigating the interface, the rotating bezel for a while has been one of the main reasons I preferred Galaxy watches to other Android alternatives, and it's also why I recommend it to so many people. Like anyone who's used this watch would probably agree with me that it's so nice to have that rotating bezel. But now we have some pretty substantial improvements here. So we are getting a smaller bezel on the outside, which gives us a larger display, a more compact watch lug all the way around, like a more compact design on here, and we are getting two different sizes, a 43mm and a 47mm version. So these are 3mm larger than the Galaxy Watch 6, which is 40 and 44, of course, but you're getting the same display sizes on each, so that extra 3mm is really just for the rotating bezel on the outside and the more premium stainless steel lugs on here. We are also getting a slightly thinner build here. This is now 10.9mm thick. And again, we're getting the Sapphire Crystal on the front, so the display super durable, but I'm not really as worried on this one anyway, because we do have that really nice raised edge all the way around that should protect the screen. So I'm not worried about really scratching this nearly as much as I would be on the Watch 6 regular. The display also has 14% more pixels, which makes sense because it is a larger display. And again, we're getting the same water resistance IP68 plus 5 atmospheres, the same durability as before too, which is to say you can swim with this, you could do pretty much anything with this watch. So just kind of going around the watch real quick, on the right side we have our two buttons. These are going to be your sensors for ECG and body composition and stuff like that. We have the rotating bezel, of course, we've got the large display in the middle, and a nice stainless steel build all the way around. When you flip to the back, you have your health sensors back there, and of course this does have a microphone and speaker. They're pretty subtle, they're all the way back on the black, like it's really, you won't even see that on the side, which again makes it look more like a classic watch, which is why they call it classic, but still function very well as among the best smartwatches out there. Now, one of the big benefits of the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro last year was that you did get a pretty long battery life on there, and that's something that until I actually have this in hand, I can't say for certain what the battery life is going to be, but considering the display is the same as the Watch 6 and the battery is the same as the Watch 6, and both of those are pretty much on par with the Watch 5, I don't think the Watch 6 Classic is going to have the same battery life as the Watch 5 Pro. That's really just a sneaking suspicion there, but like I said, once I test it, I'll know for sure. Some other great things Samsung's coming out with, as I mentioned in my Watch 6 video, which if you haven't already watched that, I'll link that at the end of this video. The bands. Samsung is making a really cool improvement to the bands, which I think is really much needed. So the bands with this little dovetail mount there make it really kind of difficult to get your thumb in there and take these old bands off. But the new ones, they're calling them one-click bands. So you just push a button in the middle, it'll retract the pins, and you can take the band off like that. They also have like a feather light band, which is more breathable, doesn't really make sense with the Classic. Or they have a hybrid leather, which is somehow made out of corn. I'm not sure exactly how that works, and the good news about the button is that it does look like they're backwards compatible. I think it's the same pin design we saw on the older watches, just a different way of actuating the pin to take it out. So ultimately, probably the best improvement they could have made to the band. This should also be faster when you're using the watch, so you're getting a newer processor on here. I'll talk about that in a second. You're getting WearOS 4, and you're getting OneUI 5 watch, which we have some benefits. Of course, one is that you don't have to reset your watch every time you upgrade your phone. The second thing is that we have personalized heart rate zones when you're working out. We should have more auto-tracked workouts on here, and if you're using, for example, a Galaxy Z Flip 5, as soon as you open the camera in flex mode, it'll prompt you on your watch to open the camera app on your watch, and you can take remote photos. Of course, with Samsung, you could always just hold up your palm and that works too, but for selfies further away, the watch might be a good way to see if everyone's in frame and get everything set up like that. We also have some benefits with SmartThings Find, as well as Google integrations on here and other things like that. So SmartThings Find, for one, you can now locate your phone even when you're disconnected, which I think is a big positive. Samsung Pay on here is getting the full Samsung Wallet experience, which brings down everything from transit cards to like discount, like membership cards. Things like that can all be found on your watch, not just debit and credit cards now. And flipping over to the back, we're getting the same great health sensor that we're seeing on the Galaxy Watch 5 and the Watch 6, which should be an upgrade over the previous rotating bezel watch, which is the Watch 4 Classic. And we're getting things like we're getting things like temperature sensors for cycle tracking and sleep tracking as well. We can still measure body composition on here, heart rate, blood oxygen, stress levels. You have an ECG on here. You don't have blood pressure in the United States just yet. It's not FDA approved, but other parts of the world will have that, and the watch is capable of that. And really the big change, even though you're getting pretty much the same array of health sensors, is when you are sleeping, you should be disturbed substantially less. The LEDs on the back, instead of flashing bright green all the time, will be using infrared only when you're sleeping, so that hopefully you don't wake up from bright green, and infrared is essentially invisible. So ideally, it'll still be just as accurate, according to the Samsung team, when you're sleeping, and it won't wake you up, you won't even see it, which I think is pretty nice. Personally, I'm not one to sleep with a big heavy watch like this, and with this battery life, assuming it's about 1.5 to 2 days, I'll probably be charging it overnight anyway. Inside this watch, we do have 2 gigabytes of RAM now instead of 1.5. We have 16 gigabytes of storage, just like before. We have Bluetooth 5.3, and of course the chip on the inside is also upgraded to the Exynos 930 versus 920, which is now 1.4 gigahertz versus the old 1.18, which was on the 5 last year, as well as on the 4. So the 4 and 5 had the same chip, which I always kind of said the 5 last year was kind of a pointless watch. It felt like they were just adding it anyway. The 5 Pro was nice, but the 5 was basically the same as the 4. At least now the 6, we are getting some serious improvements there. The battery life, the battery on here, I don't know battery life, but the battery size on here is 425 milliamp hours for the larger one and 300 for the smaller one, which is the same as what we saw on the Galaxy Watch 6 regular. And it's about 4 or 5% larger than the Galaxy Watch 5 last year, which is to say we should be getting about an 18-hour battery life on here. I was hoping for a little bit better for the Galaxy Watch Classic, like a bigger watch, I don't know. I thought for more money, for a larger watch, we'd fit a little bit of a large battery in there, but it is what it is. So why do I think this is going to be the best Android watch of the year? Well, I mean, without having tested it yet, I could say that Galaxy watches have always had like a nice interface. They make the tiles really nice, navigating is so nice with that rotating bezel, and you get great seamless integration with your any Android phone, but especially a Galaxy phone. And with the larger display, the better screen to body ratio on here, it just feels like a more premium option than pretty much any other Android smartwatch on the market. And being the latest and most upgraded version, you're a little bit more future-proof than buying the Watch 4 Classic, but if you want, maybe I could make a comparison between the Watch 6 Classic and the 4 Classic if anyone's maybe looking to save money. I don't know. Leave a comment below and let me know what you want me to compare this to. But the lineup now is pretty strong. As I said in my Watch 6 video, we've got the Watch 6 for a more athletic type of, really an everyday wear. We've got the Watch 6 Classic, which is much more premium, a little bit more, like I would rather wear this to work or when you dress up. And we have the Watch 5 Pro, which is a longer battery life, better for a more rugged lifestyle. And out of the 3 of those, I think pretty much anybody could find a pretty solid watch. Now, the pricing is not an easy pill to swallow. This is an expensive watch, but you are getting a nice stainless steel build, you're getting the rotating bezel, and apparently those 2 main things are enough to justify a $100 price jump over the Watch 6 regular. And I mean, I don't know what the right price jump is. That's what it's always kind of been, about $100 more expensive, and that's respective for each size. So $399 for the 43mm Watch 6 Classic and $429 for the larger version. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. This watch comes out on August 11th, and it's probably going to be my everyday wear. I think it's a pretty solid, pretty nice looking watch.